Microphone check. Huh. I can't hear nothing in my headphones. Oh man, we're ridiculous. All right, welcome back. Hey everybody. I am the host of the Maturity Project, and this is Chad Ever Broshears, or Sir Chad Ever Broshears to some. If you know, you know, and there are episodes to tell you. Just gotta find them, little Easter eggs, if you will. All right, so today was an interesting one. So every day I take stock of exactly where I'm at with my immediate needs, and then how do I address that? So it's a ritual that I do, but I also have promised specific people that's within my sphere, are there, and they're the support system, if you will. And I promise them to be very transparent and just to be very honest about things like the things that you could easily just mislead people over, because for me it's radical ownership is also being very, very honest. So I take stock of the day, and if I wake up and I'm in one of those I'm in a moment where I know that I need to address something, it's there, right? I don't push it off. I don't go into avoidance. I don't try to mask it by covering it up with other stuff so that I can focus on other things. I work on developing tools to, if nothing else, quarantine it so it doesn't make things worse, right? Because it's easy to want to retract. Like, I have that in my personality. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, I pull back, I retract. But it's also directly associated with my analytical side. I retract to analyze the situation, to not cause harm, but to better understand what's going on so that I can, better address the situation in a way that helps support other people and even myself. So support the outcomes to be something more desirable for everybody. Now, mind you, something worth saying here. To say that you want the better outcome for everybody, people are entirely too dynamic. You could have two people and both of you had the same conversation and you feel that you do know the outcome that they intend to have and how it aligns with yours. Even if that outcome is exactly what you discussed to what you feel, doesn't mean that that actually is exactly what the other person wants, even though language has been utilized, you've articulated what that is. It's the challenge with communication, especially when there's not real deep intention to communicate, but just a higher degree or desire to just talk. Because you can talk at the person, or you can use language that is less descriptive of what you actually feel, which can lead to its own unique challenges, because you get enrolled into the outcomes the other person also believes, or what they've articulated, what they're after, and you figure out how to support that. So now that that's been said, that's the method that I use, is to better understand the outcome. So I pull back to analyze, not to avoid, analyze, to understand what's going on. And I use specific tools to ensure that I'm not retracting to retreat or to avoid. So I use things that help with that. Now, I am intentionally out to create better communication. So with that requires that I'm very honest. Is that honesty and communication sets a pattern of expectation of the way that I communicate that is more supportive over time, because they understand the personality that's speaking into the context of what's being communicated. Because there's a lot of things in communication that just has to be there. And to be radically responsible means that you have to put in a lot of work. It's not just going, I'm responsible for that. And a little bit more than that, right? Like, being radically responsible means that it's not just, I may not have been the prime mover of this thing that caused this outcome. I might not be anywhere actually in the sphere of it. Now, to take on the opportunity to, potentially change the process that humans become mature by, and to put the value of maturity into, the human existence and the living existence, that's a radical responsibility. But it sounds great just sitting around, if you were to be, just in the fantasy world of life goals and purposes. But you have to put something behind those things, otherwise they just stay fantasies. And I do not want my life to just represent another person that fantasizes their way through life. I want to do something that makes a difference, that truly does give people opportunities, that make them more independent but understand how to work better with each other. So in order to get to that, you have to actually put this type of effort in. And there's a lot more effort that I have ignorance to, that I'm not, it's just going to take time for it to unfold into my reality so that I can create, because I understand something else, the vantage point of awareness. So where I woke up this morning was in a place of feeling a funk, feeling the desire for survival, not thriving, surviving, because of the unique challenges that are going on currently in my life as a whole. I take things on, and I'm incredibly hard on myself. My perspective on being hard on myself is that you forge a diamond through that. That there is a breaking point. My challenge is that I don't know where that is for myself, because I'm addicted to this growth and this process of growth. 1 second. Well, that was a sneaky little son of a gun. Anyway, that sneeze. So I'm addicted to growth. I'm obsessed with growth. And that does reduce, it pulls some stops out that average people, or the majority of people have, that say, hey, don't go any further. This is enough. But I have a very, very high threshold for risk. And my that I have, and it's high as well compared to other people on average. And this is through, continuous observation of myself and others, and through communication, all of that I've come to that understanding. Now, it has not been assessed by, some sort of authority. This is my own authority level, being that I'm a living, existing creature, right? And I've had a lifetime of analyzing things. So I'm aware of, like what stresses create and what the benefit of taking on challenges and overcoming them is. I'm addicted to it. I put myself in situations that intentionally create a challenge so that I can grow through it, but I don't do it to sabotage anything. There's a difference in that, because some people will sabotage, and I'll get into that in just a second, why they do it. I go the other way. I want the growth out of it. I want the development, I want the betterment for anybody involved. Now, that is not always cute, fun, it's not always funny. It is often challenging. I try to reduce the amount of challenge I put onto somebody else that is not enrolled in the challenge. So, like, if somebody's enrolled in my challenges, they get more of what I'm really going through. Those are the people that are at that core for me. So I will share with them. I woke up today, was a little bit of a tough day. I woke up into survival mode and not the thriving mode. Now, what do you do with that? I'm not going to avoid it. I'm not going to say, this isn't happening. Let me go, plug my freaking ears and hold my breath and look up to the sky and wait for somebody to come save me while I just wait, just wait to pass out. I'm not doing that. My thing is, I'm not asking for anybody to help me either, which is part of a problem that I have. But at the same time, I don't want to be enabled. And it's not easy to get somebody to be enrolled in helping you without becoming enabling. And it's not intentional for a lot of people. They're not trying to become your enabler to try to make you dependent on them. They're just trying to give you something out of love, but they may not have the skill sets or the abilities or the maturity to be able to get to truly support you. And they get either overly involved in some way emotionally, or the resource that you may be lacking, whatever it is. So for me, where I'm at is, the people that know, and you guys know, whoever's watching the videos, that today is a survival, not thrive. But that is it's a method. I'm working my way through it, addressing what I need to address. I will use what I would refer to as kind of like medicating the situation. It's not avoiding it. It's just shifting from motivation. Because one of the problems when you're in survival, you're not motivated in a thriving mindset. You're motivated in a surviving mindset, which can be more challenging for other people because they miss too much, and they get you in survival mode, which is often a more it's a desperate type person by comparison to a thriving, which a thriving can be incredibly generous. For people that know me to be highly generous because of me being more of a thriving mindset in specific categories and areas of maturity, they may have that expectation of my continuous behaviors and the way that I express myself and what they can depend on, whether that be the way that I talk to them or how I offer insights, whatever it might be. They could easily be there, with the expectation. But if I'm not fully in that thriving mode, they're going to feel that I've taken something away from them. That falls into the enabling concept, but yet at the same time, mine is to push people up in the world or pull them up with me to help get better insights for independence. What that is that I'm trying to scaffold around others to help them see things. That's what maturity is all about. The maturity project is scaffolding, which is, I guess I do need to define that for people that may not be familiar with it. It's a term used that is when somebody has a specific skill set of success, so they have a success model, what they do is just like a building, you scaffold around it. You scaffold around it to build it up. And then as it becomes more independent and has a higher degree of integrity for itself at that point, functionality, whatever it is, you say if somebody's financially illiterate and you're trying to help them become financially literate, you may help them guide them through budgeting and the overall understanding of how much money comes in versus how much is being spent, and then the process of saving, and then what investments look like and stuff like that. You're with them to show them, but you're taking steps along the way to create lessons that they work on their own. So you get them stable, and then you say, okay, well, I've been working with you with your checkbook and just managing that, and I've been writing it with you, and I've been there to guide you. Now the next time, for next week, I want you to do it on your own, and then you show me. And then you see the proof in the pudding of your efforts and see how they're understanding everything. It's very simple because you just typically graph off the previous week, but you're giving them enough of a lesson to develop and to becoming more salient, more capable. And then you give them that, you get to the point where you're really satisfied they got it, they understand it. You look for another thing that you're doing, which can be the savings conversation instead of just the book balancing. Now it's savings, and you're making sure that they know how much money to put away and when you access your savings, which category values you would do that in, create scenarios, and then see how they play that out. And then you give that to them to do it on their own, but you observe it, you do it at a distance instead of being right there holding their hand. And then you give them that independence, and now you understand that they're capable of balancing their budget plus adding savings. So you keep doing that until you get to the point where they are completely independent in finance, and then they have that ability to be creative and start looking at ways of becoming more and more functional in finance and balancing their books and managing things that way. So it's a simple version of what scaffolding is. It could also be in relationships. You can scaffold around them. You get with them, you give them counsel, you give them the understandings to why what your counsel is offering is like the bedrock of the understanding of the foundation of that. What you're doing is you're actually scaffolding around thinking and including the emotional aspects to it so that you can give them more independence. Takes a bit longer because that's less tangible than a checkbook in front of you, but it's still the same thing. It's scaffolding. You eventually remove yourself after showing them how to be successful so that they can be successful on their own without being dependent. That's what I do whenever it comes to being a specific way with people. I'm being very genuine, very sincere about who I am, incredibly sincere. That's part of that radical ownership, is to be very, very honest. But to be as honest as I need to be for the person's ability to accept me, and that's a regulation value. But I can't be brutally honest to somebody who's so delicate in their process. It can be detrimental to be overly honest with them. But giving them enough honesty to help keep them on the rails so that you scaffold their way into being capable of tolerating brutal honesty so they don't take it so personally they retract to the world and feel damaged or hurt or harmed or whatever. So you build that up. It's a process. So now that I've got scaffolding into a vehicle of understanding, and I would hope that does create enough understanding of this. That's a method used to develop maturity in others. It's actually a very strong method. It's what the foundation of the maturity process is built on. The maturity project, sorry. It's what it's built on. is scaffolding. So I don't have a lot of mentors to pull from, so a lot of it is life is teaching me, because I've got to enroll more people in this to help mentor me so that I can develop in a way that helps the others develop as well. Because I take that role in life of being a teacher, but it's because I want to give to the community. I want to give to actually the entirety of this planet, because for me, this education will help us create more peace and less scarcity, less desperation, because we can all understand how to balance with each other in a way that we truly have independence, but also collaboration. We are communal creatures, and we're not going to get rid of that. So with that, that's the thing. So currently, where I'm at with what's going on and waking up in a survival, not thriving mode and all of that, that's all because I have challenges that I've taken on. I have an incredibly dear person. It's a partner of mine, and she's a life partner, really. She's enrolled in what's going on as well, and deals with a lot of the challenges that I deal with because I share with her so much, and being able to get her to help regulate my thresholds, because I don't know where they are. And that is a challenge. I'm very ignorant to my thresholds now, because I've removed the blocks that had helped me understand where they were before. And I've worked on that very diligently to help remove them. But part of the problem is that it can become reckless because I don't know when I've had enough. So, and that's a part of this whole thing. You got to start you'll start learning that as you go through this education, that you will get to that point. Now, don't be afraid of it. It's just something that you will start to, by having other people enrolled in such a way, they will be able to help see it, because they will see the patterns in you. They'll see those things and be able to help connect with you intimately enough that you can take what they have to say and you don't dismiss it because you don't feel they're up to the same game in life, or the same efforts, or the same challenges, they're not at the same work, because that can discredit their view, not in a negative and an undesirable way of being like forced on you or whatever. It's they're coming from compassion. So getting to that point takes something. And that's not an overnight thing by any friggin' means. So I would say that it does take something, but it does take somebody who truly is there to be a friend and to be a partner in life. And that's something that I encourage everybody find, their own connections in that way. Create your partners in life that are there, but that takes enrollment, because they are your safeties to help you whenever you're in those places that you need an outside perspective and you're so in your own world that you can't see it. So that's where I'm at with this now. And I'm fortunate for that. I have several people that are enrolled in my life in a way that they truly are those regulatory agencies in my life, if you will, the people to help me see what's really going on that goes outside of what's inside of my head, and what's inside of my realities. They help with that paradigm shift so I can become more and more capable of dealing with things and not break anything in the process. Now, do understand also with my obsession with growth, it does give me I need to break things in order to understand how far I can go, and then also what's on the other side and what does it take to fix. I just need to make sure that it's not a major break that causes the greatest degree of suffering. I have been in incredible financial dire straits in my life, to the point of, I voluntarily had a truck of mine repossessed. So I gave it back to the finance company because I knew I just wasn't going to be capable. That was when I left my first career. The consequences of living my life for me was that I had to deal with the things that I had accumulated that still had a consistent debt to it. I had to come to terms and understand the commitments that I had made when I was in a previous career, and did not know that I was going to. I knew, but I didn't know. So I didn't consciously know that I was going to leave that career. And then there was the responsibilities that I had accumulated over time because of it that I had to Excuse me for a second. In case you're watching, I didn't go over the speed limit there. Anyway, all right. So I wasn't aware of that transition, that it was going to have that kind of consequence, because I wasn't thinking that way before I left my previous, my first career. But it was good. I gave back the truck after a couple of years of just really struggling to make sure that it was all taken care of and paid for and all that, because I went in to become a holistic personal trainer from working in the power industry and the power plant side and operations. So I moved into something else, and it did not have the same financial rewards, and there was the hardships that I had to go through, which I refer to as my starving artist phase. But it took something to get there, and I realized a lot about me. And every phase of my life, I'm realizing more and more. So part of my goal in this whole thing is that I help people see these lessons at an earlier stage in life. As what is it that marks a decade for a person? And what we don't talk about, but what a decade does offer us is 10 years of experience actually equates to a specific amount of maturity. Most of us don't qualify or quantify what kind of maturity we've gone through in the last decade. But we look back in hindsight and say, well, I am where I'm at because of these reasons, and I realized it. And I will overcome this because I learned these things. Or I'm a different person now, is the most common statement that I hear. I'm different now. I've changed. Yes, you have. But the more that you can qualify that change, the more control you have, because then you understand what resources actually truly to develop, what areas and your traits, what areas of maturity, so that you have something you can truly work with. So, all right. So that's. I woke up with the brutal honesty to go online and put this out in the world that today was a day of survival, not thriving. And I stepped into being responsible enough that, this may not be the best look good video, but it's an honest one. And it's very sincere, it's transparent. We go through these things and expect to go through them and actually learn how to have joy in that process. By the way, joy is not happiness. They're distinctive, different words because they describe a different experience in human beings. So joy is the experience of achieving a goal. That doesn't always mean happiness. You can have joy without happiness, and you can have happiness without joy. But they're typically bedfellows. They're typically so incredibly identical in the way that we feel about things that you can really you collapse and are conflated. Now, I make that distinction because by creating that division or that kind of distinction, that definition between those two words gives you more workability in the way of creating those experiences. Because every little thing that we create distinctions for that have enough strategy and structure to them, we can progress forward. Now, some of these things you will shed because they're not long-term required, and they can conflate back into the definitions that were there before, but they're there with the utility that you gain by being able to create the division of those words, the definition differences. So that's a significant benefit, but you can bring them back together at another time. The reason why I say that is there's going to be times that these lessons in life come to the point where you have some conflict, right? Like the experience of joy but not have happiness can leave you with, I don't know why I feel this way. I don't understand it. It feels good, but I don't really feel happy. And you can address that conflict when that happens, because you can get to the distinction that there is two different terms there, two different words, two different definitions, but they're incredibly close to each other. The experience is incredibly similar. So that's a benefit when developing yourself. The same as a lot of other things, but being able to define it, it's another one of those. It's kind of in the Rumpelstiltskin family of words, which I have a series that I created back in, I think it was 2014. That was the Rumpelstiltskin of words, and that's on this channel. It goes way back though. Actually, no, I think it's on Chad Broshears' YouTube channel. Either way, you can find me there too. But those are really old videos. But I do suggest you subscribe to this one. All right, so just being the ugly truth. Survival is not pretty. It increases desperation, and survival does have desperation entwined with it. But it's how much and how obvious, is it? Because it shifts your thinking. When you're desperate, you also thinking you can't. It just won't. You can't allow for that. It just doesn't. It doesn't give you the patience necessary to think in a way that helps navigate certain situations. You don't have the fullest capacity for that. Patience lends itself to emotional stability and stabilizing your emotions so that you can make better decisions without having the emotions encourage you to make a decision that you sometimes will regret. But even then, there's stuff to working on that too, which I'll go over in the emotional portions of the maturity when I specifically focus on that. So, all right, well, that's it for today. I hope that you got something out of this. Please put it in the comment section if you did, and share this video with the person in your life you want to break the ice with. Start a conversation, a meeting with them. So share this video with them, watch it together, if you need to, which is ideal because you can stop and talk, or go all the way through and then talk. More people can find that. Let's create a conversation of purpose. You'll have your own ownership then. You won't need to be a devotee for me. You don't need to be the Tony Robbins devotee, or whomever else. You are your own guru, man. I want to be able to give you that, help set you free into that reality that you truly are your own guru. We got a world to work on, but we got to work on ourselves first. So if you haven't made your bed today, you better get to it because that's part of the process, man. Make it before you leave. I make it as soon as I get up, and if I don't, I remind myself very quickly when I look at it and go, Chad, get on it. So that was today. It's not like I make it as soon as I wake up. Yeah, it's okay. It's just stuff to work on. It's good. Work on yourself first. Don't try to fix the world before you do that, because the path to hell is paved with good intentions. And right now, our society seems to be pushing us into an expressway to hell. So let's create something meaningful, shall we? All right. Till next time, I'm your host, Chad Ever Broshears, or Sir Chad Ever Broshears to some. If you know, you know. And this is the Maturity Project. Let's get to it.